Good evening.
Yeah, that intro gets me every time.
It gets me hyped. Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to episode number 8 of the MUTAGENTS live stream. We've got some fun stuff to talk about tonight and to share with you guys tonight. And we'll set all of that up. But first of all, let me say good day to these gentlemen. How are you boys doing?
Fantastic. I have to say, every time we do that mutagen start now, I'm always smiling and ready just in case it cuts between and
yeah, I know.
One time.
that happened once. I've corrected the errors of my game. So
God.
No, you got to be on alert.
Who's in the chat tonight?
Oh, we got a bunch of people. So yeah, we've got, like I said, we've got some real fun stuff to get to. But yeah, to Enzo's point, we do want to say good day to everybody in the chat. So who's this fella? Retro Horse Gamer. He seems like a champion.
Legend Gaming.
We got Matt and Andrew watching the Keep On Collecting boys. Hope you guys are doing well. We got Scree. Hey, buddy.
Scree.
Hope you're doing
well. Love your work, mate. Love your work.
Absolutely. G'day,
we
Jules.
seen you on Sunday, Jules?
Hey, Jules. Yeah,
Jules.
come on Sunday.
That's a good point. Just before we went live, we were just talking about Collecticon Penrith this Sunday. So, Jewel and whoever else is going, definitely let us know in the chat. G'day, Nate. I was just watching you on Zazel's stream. I wasn't expecting you to tune in this early, mate, but I do appreciate it.
There you go, Nate.
G'day, Carl. Speaking of people that sadly won't be at Collecticon this Sunday, Carl, man, we're going to be missing you, but I hope you're doing really well.
Have a good weekend, Carl.
And we've got Phil. G'day, Phil. Hope you're well, mate.
Phil.
Hey, bud.
Hope you've had a nice Monday. We've got Sean. G'day, Sean. Hope you're well, mate. Thanks for joining us.
So many people. They must have all just
Johnny.
Straight across.
Hey, Johnny. And g'day, Zazel.
There
Hey,
is.
buddy. Mate, I knew you were live. I was watching you just before I jumped on with these boys. I wasn't sure you're going to be joining us, mate, but I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. And that brings us
rated as sent them all over.
Do you think they're here
shout out to my kids. They're watching. Diego, Alessia.
Hey.
That's awesome. Got the young fellas watching.
And my wife, but she's not important.
Oh, come on.
She's very important.
You're going to get fed somehow, mate. Come on.
Yeah, no.
VTR Dave, hope you're well, mate.
Do you think all these people are here for us?
No.
We've been stream rated by Zazel.
Yeah, so we've got a bunch of people joining us. You boys doing well? Ends,
Great
Dan,
video,
you guys
Dave.
doing good?
All good. Busy.
Alrighty. So guys, I'm going to hand over to Enzo in a minute because like as you will have seen, if you've seen the stream as we've been promoting it on Instagram, and you know the thumbnail of this stream on YouTube, we've got a special treat for you guys tonight and for us because we've not seen this either. But as has been promoted, this episode of the MUTAGENTS live stream does feature an interview with Kevin Eastman. Sadly, Kevin Eastman will not be joining us live, but Enzo was fortunate and tenacious enough to score a 12-minute interview with Kevin. Kevin was doing a whole bunch of press recently. Enz threw his name in the hat and was able to get one, and we're all very grateful for that. So what we'll do is we'll take the next 10 minutes or so. Enz can provide some context as to how it came about and what the lead up to that process was like. Then we'll play it. It goes for about 12 minutes. We'll all watch along live with you guys because Dean, Dan, and myself, we've not watched it. I've been resisting the urge to watch it because I want to see it live with these gentlemen and you guys all in the chat so we can react to it together. And then after that, we'll discuss it and we'll kind of unpack it. And then Dan, these other boys have all had the chance of meeting Kevin Eastman face to face, had some awesome photo ops and autographed items. So we'll be discussing these as well. And if anyone in the chat has had the has had the fortune to meet Kevin Eastman or Peter Laird, definitely let us know. But that's what we're doing tonight. That's the agenda tonight. That's what we're focusing on. So I'll hand over to Enz, and Enz, you can give us a bit of context as to how this all came about.
Will do. So thanks, boys. It was great. This basically started when we had Supernova in Perth. He had obviously been over at Sydney and all that, and he was doing meet and greets. I went both Saturday and Sunday, and both days made it quite. I was fishing for information on like the best way of obviously getting my hands on an interview, or at least trying to get a one-on-one later down the track, because at that point I think we were episode 3 in or something, because I think it was October from memory. So being very persistent, I was told to go to the website. There was an email there, and I was month in, month out, being pretty persistent on with his assistant. And then out of the blue, I had an email from her saying, "Hey, I haven't forgotten about you. Kevin's doing some journalist in some media day. Pick a time," and the times are all in American Californian time. Turned out the time I picked was 3:30 in the morning Perth time, because there was only 3 other options, and I had no choice. So it was shot at 3:30 in the morning. I was a little starstruck at first, because obviously it was a bit to take in, and I was just saying to the boys before, it really hits home when it's just you and him, and it's like having him over for a beer, as opposed to being at a fair and you got to move quickly because he's only got, he's got to quickly sign something and move on to the other 500 people that are in the queue. So that's how it came about. It was just being very persistent and being, professional about it, and sending a few links to stuff that we've done in the past, which creates credibility. They see that obviously we're not just someone trying to waste his time. It was refreshing for him, I think, because everything he did was journalism that day and dealing with journalists, where I was just a fanboy with a YouTube channel wanting to speak to him about we spoke about 3 different topics, and he gave me a bit more than 10 minutes that I thought I had. So, that's pretty much it. Any questions?
Oh, mate, a lot. I mean, we've obviously discussed this quite a bit before and after, but
yeah,
to your point, mate, it would be very different for someone like Kevin Eastman to be chatting to fans, as opposed to like the press interviews and stuff like that. So I imagine it'd be kind of refreshing, the enthusiasm and the investment that fans bring to those sorts of discussions. But also, to your point, you've met Kevin Eastman in a con environment face to face, and I can imagine it was very different having that like extended one-on-one where there's not someone in front of you, someone behind you, and it's like, this is just my moment. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, in his defense, he's always been doesn't matter if it's the first person or the last person, at the end of the day, he gives everyone like 100% attention. He's very good one-on-one, and I'm sure Dean and Dan will agree with that. He's, for him, if it's not for the fans, he wouldn't be where he is today. And he's extremely passionate on communicating with fans, and invested. He's very invested in the fans. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
I just love that story. I just love it all.
And man, and I mean, like, beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. Like, ends like and all of us, like, we'll take what we can get as far as Kevin Eastman goes. But man, 3:30 a.m. like that would have been a tough one. We were chatting earlier that evening, or I should say the evening before, prior to you went live, just to talk questions and stuff like that, and was. And then I was like, I'm going to go get a few hours sleep and then wake up. I'm like, I don't know how that works. Like, I would just have to stay awake all the way through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did wake at 2. And because when that first eye opened, I was like, oh my God, is it like, am I late? Has the alarm gone off? And then I couldn't get back to sleep.
Yeah.
So I probably look okay because I've been up for an hour, as opposed to getting up 10 minutes before and, washing your face and starting. But look, really happy. I had to quickly set up a bit of stuff in the background just to give it a bit of jazz. And my wife, my hat goes off to her because she helped a lot with it and made sure everything worked, and got up when the alarm went off and supported me from the other room. So, nice. Without you guys, without her, without the family and the support, it's obviously very hard not to get this going and done. So, should we play it?
You're a fan too, so it's exciting for you.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, All right.
So
Is this where we tell him that he's actually coming in live?
I wish.
I know.
3:30 in the morning, we could have done it.
So yeah, guys, what we'll do is we'll just Enzo's got the video queued up backstage. We'll just throw that on. Enzo, you'll be in charge of running it. If at any point you want to pause it to have a chat, we can. But if not, we'll just play it all the way through, and then we'll just have a bit of a chat afterwards, and maybe just we mute ourselves in the meantime, or just keep it zipped. I'm going to mute because I got hoons that go up and down my street and a dog that's prone to barking when that happens. So we'll get it going, and I'll mute myself, and we'll chat afterwards, or at any point if you want to pause it.
Yep. Hey there. Sorry, but Skype was acting really weird. It made me reload. So it's like, sorry for the delays. I think we were supposed to be on a few minutes ago. Right?
No, that's okay. No problems at all. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How about yourself?
Excellent. Very good. So I've got you from all the way from Australia. So I'm from Perth, Australia. Thank you for taking this time. And I did meet you at Supernova, I think it was October. Can't remember now.
Fantastic. No, we love, actually, we were hoping to get back there again this year for a show in November, but it just, it's, we weren't able to, but we love coming there, love hanging out with you all, and it's great to be chatting with you today. This is cool.
Now, so we, again, thank you for doing this. We have a little YouTube channel that is predominantly Ninja Turtle toy heavy, retro toy heavy. But last week, we actually did a bit of a deep dive into the 1990 film. And I thought, because we've never been able to find a lot of content or interviews on that. And we did a bit of a deep dive because that movie for us, and there's another 3 guys that I do the channel with, like for me, as weird as this might sound, it's a masterpiece. And, from like the cinematography, from, the music that was used, the cast, the costumes, even down to the fact that New York City itself felt like its own character. Obviously director's intent is a big part of how like a film goes, but they were quite heavy based from my research that they were based on the comics. I think it was issue 1, 10 and 11 or something from memory. Where did that direction come from? Like, how did we get what we got?
That's a great question. And it's, and I'll say hands down, that first movie is by far my favorite version of the Turtles, outside of the original comic books, of course, ever at any point. It just was beautifully done, perfectly done on every level. And that was Steve Barron's fault. He just was such a wonderful, thoughtful director. The first meeting that we had with him, he showed up and had actually one of the larger collections of the Turtles, and he had put Post-it notes in issue 1 and 9, 10, and 11, Leonardo and 10 and 11, and said, these parts of the story really work for me, and that's just how I see we could put them together and in so many pieces. So he's really a champion for the original source material, sort of not like, oh, well, that was a comic book. We're going to do a movie, so we got to change everything. He wanted to stay true to the original inspiration and felt that, there was even scenes that, he used as storyboards, and he used another fantastic storyboard artist, another comic book artist named Brendan McCarthy, who did a lot of the storyboards for the movie. But then Steve also had a personal relationship with Jim Henson and Brian Henson. They were mates. Brian was second unit director on that movie. But the Jim Henson team, the creature shop that brought those characters to life, was just the icing. That was not the icing on the cake. It was much, much more than that, because if the characters didn't look and feel and work the way that they did, it would have not succeeded as a movie. We would have not gotten past the believability point. So it was really a perfect storm of. But I point to really Steve Barron solely for the thought and the success, and Judith Hogue is April and Elias Koteas is Casey. Just so many things of that, it just was spot on.
Yeah, well, Casey was such a great character as well. But that actually is a good segue, because the Jim Henson Creature Shop, like, how did that come about? Because obviously the costumes and animatronics were so important, and I think obviously considering the kind of technical
limitations and the budget of the film in 1990, which was like 13 million. Like to get, and the fact that nobody wanted to really pick up the film originally. Like, how did we even get Jim Henson involved? Because that's obviously a big thing.
Well, I think it was twofold, and I think the budget. I mean, the budget might have even been a bit less than that, but that's still, it's a Christmas miracle, and on so many levels. And there was so much of the movie and the animatronics and things that were created specifically by the Creature Shop to make those things work, to make the characters work, to act and emote. But we were lucky, you know, they just simple things like the amount of electronics that had to be worn by the person to make all those animatronics work fit perfectly underneath the shell. You know, it was very heavy costumes and stuff, but they had multiple costumes, you know, the action one and then the acting one and stuff. But they really did. It was, I think, a challenge for them, and it was a next evolution of technology. So I think that was something that they were interested in exploring and trying to figure this out, because it was very complex. And the fact that, you know, because, man, you know, we've seen other movies with characters in rubber suits that just did not work. It was just like, you know, and you lose the whole thing. So it was the budget, the shooting schedule. It was a lot of I feel like a lot of passion, but a lot of Hail Marys that, like, hey, we just hope this works. You know, I think, like, the stories of Spielberg when the first Jaws movie, that the shark, you know, failed constantly, but it was not this case. They really, you know, used every penny, every, you know, shoestring and bubblegum and Band-Aid that they could, and it worked so beautifully. And have you got is there a favorite scene or element of that film that is always just stuck with you? Is there something that you really love on that? A lot of them, and it's like, you know, everything from, you know, Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds in a little conversation to up in the farmhouse scene. So many personal character moments that Steve really put that emotion in the heart and soul. You know, you get to have some of the comedic aspects, but you really get to have the heart and soul, the emotion, the love and the bond for family, which made it work, which was something that I feel like was in the original comic book, but also done in every version of the Turtle sense, is that you have this, you got to have the heart and soul to make it work, or it doesn't. Yeah, I think I remember some of the things even as a kid. I mean, I'm 40 years old, so like even when Raph kind of screams because obviously Splinter's gone, and then it goes to the scene of just the person in New York walking above the drain and wondering what that scream was. You know, and even like the bathtub scene, and there was just so much emotion. And I think obviously, like you said, that combination of everything just really worked. But for us, it's a movie that I think to this day still just, it doesn't get as much love as it probably should. And I think, you know, getting these reiterations, like we've just had a copy of it recently come to Australia, which has the Smell-O-Vision on Blu-ray, where it's got the scratch and sniff. And I think that's obviously going to start introducing, you know, that film to a different generation again. But it was just, I mean, even one of the parts that we spoke about quite heavily was the lair scene, that the shredder, or the nitty-gritty of the lair, which felt real, but then also the bad guys lair, which was that kind of punk, cyberpunk, retro, you know, neon sign. I mean, that was just a fantastic set. The sets were amazing. Yeah, they were, and I think that what I loved is, you know, you brought up a really good point, because it is the attention of dirt. Lack of it, you know, things felt real. It's like, you know, I think that's why, like, say, you look at Star Wars, for example, and you believe the rebels were believable because it was the dirt, and you know, they were just really, you know, bubblegum and shoestring again, but it was the believability factor. Everything wasn't shiny and new, and it was the stuff, it really was lived in, it felt in. You had as you clearly said, a personality. And no CGI, because I think that kills a lot of things these days. I agree. All right, so we'll move to the toys, because we do talk heavily about toys on this channel. The Playmates toy line, obviously we've seen documentaries, we know how it came about. You know, it's probably one of the biggest or greatest toy line ever. Lasted, I think it was like nearly 10 years. So it's a big juggernaut of a toy line. Did it exceed your expectations? Have you got a favorite figure that always comes to mind? For the toys?
Yeah, for the Playmates, the original kind of 90s run.
Oh, Ben, you know, it's like it's one of those. It's this. So many that were really fun. You know, to me, like, you know, one of my favorites all time of the earliest Turtle Toys was the Crying with the Android Body, the larger size one, which was fantastic. The van, you know, the sewer playset, of course, the original Turtles, and I like the evolution of, you know, as some of the early toys went on, they evolved into some interesting adaptations of like the Universal Studios monsters as turtle characters, or Star Trek, which I grew up as a huge Star Trek fan. No, and I still, you know, right to this day, I have turtle toys everywhere throughout my studio, throughout the house, and all the iterations, and it's still some of my favorite parts of the turtles. But those original ones, the classic ones, will always be a favorite.
Yeah, it was such a juggernaut. I mean, 10 years is a long time. And obviously with Ronin now, I mean, the Ronin, we've got a video game coming. Is there a date for that? Do we know what's happening there?
No, we're actually due to have another call this coming week, next week, on the update status. But I know they're still looking. There was a brief discussion of maybe Christmas 2024, but they'd always said 2025, early 20, you know, probably first quarter 2025 for sure. But everything I've seen on the game, the visual, the aspect, the behind the scenes, some of the writing, some of the adaptation aspects, it's just, everything that I could have hoped for and dreamed for a perfect opportunity to really adapt Last Ronin as the next evolution of Last Ronin. It's going to be done in the game, and it's going to be amazing.
It'll be. I mean, we were joking last week about how great would it to see a Ronin film, dark, gritty, like the 90 movie, with the real suit, like with a Jim Henson style suit. Do you think we'll ever see something like that again?
I love it. You know, it's like, I think that, you know, right now, Nickelodeon, Paramount, they're focused, you know, with the Last Ronin being adapted as a video game, I think they're really excited and want to continue the Seth Rogen, the animated version of Girls, which were quite wonderful and very enjoyable, and really like that. So I think they're going to continue that. But we'd love to see a Last Ronin live action down the road. So it's you know, finger to toes crossed for that, for sure. Fingers crossed.
Look, Kevin, I'll let you go. I know you're a very busy man. I really appreciate it. And, you know, hopefully we'll see you in Perth and back on Rottnest again, smiling with some quokkas. And we'll catch you next year, hopefully.
Crikey, that would be great.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Pleasure talking with you. You take care.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
It was awesome.
There you go.
Let's just take a second to do that.
Yeah.
Round of applause.
So it was interesting watching that back, because I actually haven't watched that back since the morning after, and realizing there was a bit of stumbling there, because it not only was 3 a.m. but it was kind of, you know, very starstruck, but also at the same time wanting to. I wish I had more than 10 minutes because I could talk to him for freaking a whole day. Yeah. You know, and he's so easy to talk to that you could go, man, I could be friends with this bloke and we could just talk crap for days, you know. I would love to have got more. I believe there may be an opportunity to do another one. We'll see. But it was honestly, it was one of the highlights of my life, apart from getting married to my wife and having my kids.
He's watching.
And considering they said it all goes downhill from there, this was 10 years later, so it was great. It was great, and you know, he's just so you can see he's into it, and you could see that you know, he was genuine. But yeah, let's
quick question, Enzo.
Sure.
So like obviously we were talking the night before about questions, all that sort of stuff. One of our main questions was about Jim Henson. He brought it up first. Did that trip you, man?
It did a little bit, but I still wanted to get from him how it came about.
Oh no,
and
exactly
basically
right.
What he didn't give us was which he did later, was that, and that's why it was a good segue, obviously, like I mentioned, that they actually contacted them because they heard that they wanted to do a live action, and they were toying with some other suits, and they basically said, we're really interested in participating. It turned out that in another interview, which he didn't mention, but it did turn out that the director had actually worked with Jim Henson in the past, so he knew he was doing Turtles. Right. But he was right. They did approach him. But yes, it did throw me off a little bit because I was like, damn you, I was just about to ask that question.
Yeah. When I was watching it, I laughed, man. It's gold.
Yeah,
but you worked it well. Like you ended up going straight into that question well. So it was,
Look, it was just trying to keep it. I wanted to come across like I'd been a little bit organized, and I wasn't just a fanboy trying to get 10 minutes with him. But I think he gave us good insight on his opinion on what it was like. And he obviously probably gets asked all these questions all the time. The toy question, it was good to get his take on. I've never heard him mention that he liked the Android Krang. I've heard him mention that he likes the Raphael Universals and the Star Trek ones. But he could see he was really taken back by how much he liked that Android Krang. So yeah, look, it was great. I could watch it over and over again.
So
I will.
I just want to say, awesome, Enzo. That was really, really good. And I think Keep On Collecting said just how focused you looked. And I know you did put a lot of effort in and a lot of work around that. So be proud of that, mate. That was really, really good.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a ton of love in the chat as far as the job that you did and how well you did and the answers you got out of him. So, mate, that was super impressive. And also, like, my first thing that was just like dawning to me was like, what an absolute dude he is, eh? Like, no part of his answers or his body language or anything gave me the vibe of,
not again.
Excuse my language, but yeah, like, here we go again, like another question, and dude, the fact that your first question, he was like, man, that's a really good question, like. It just opened him up. Like that must have, in the moment when you're nervous and you ask your very first question and his response is, oh, that's a great question. And he starts going into his answer like that must have put you at ease. You know what I mean? In that moment.
Because at that point, it kind of made me realize that he had really either he hadn't been asked a question like that or he hadn't had that perspective of it. Because obviously when someone says to you, that movie's a masterpiece, and the characters felt real. It was gritty. New York felt like its own character. He's obviously thinking, "Geez, this guy is passionate about this film, right?" But look, I was taken back at that, and even I think later down the track, he did say, "Oh, you made a very good point," or because it kind of, he is paying attention as opposed to not another interview, right?
Yeah, he's not going through the motions. Like he's complimenting you on the question. He's saying you made a good point. Like, yeah, he's very present. You know what I mean? Which is super cool.
Very present.
And hidden the names too.
Like, sorry, Dan.
Remembering everyone's name and that from like Casey and all that. Like those ones you remember, but he wasn't a director of the movie or a producer. So to see that he has the passion to remember all those people still. Yeah, like I don't know if he's still friends with these people and that, but it was just amazing to see that, like.
Well, he does come across them at a lot of fairs. In America, they have a lot more meet and greets and a lot more what do you call it, catch ups than what we have over here. So I'm sure he would. Yeah,
probably.
But yeah, I think he puts a lot of pride in his story, even in like the toy documentary. It was all so memorable for him because it was such a juggernaut of not only just the actual the ID, what do they call it? The idea was so like, it really took everyone by storm that he was so proud of it, and you could see how invested he is in it. I mean, he's still wearing freaking clothes to this day. And sure, it had ups and downs, and certain parts didn't go the way he would have loved to probably have made more money as well. But, I think this idea of this Ronin thing is them taking their identity back and doing things a little bit, their way, because, obviously they gave up the rights to Turtles back in 2000 or whatever it was. So, yeah, look, it was great. I mean, yeah. Any questions in the chat, Scotty?
Well, there's a few, and we'll get to year high in a minute. But I just want to say good day to the people that tuned in while we were
good point.
while we were showing the interview. So I want to say g'day to Yeehaw. I want to say g'day to Simon Schuchter. Appreciate you joining in. He came in and was like, "What's going on here?" Like just when the interview started. And I also want to say hey and a big shout out to my friend from North Carolina, Stephen Brown. And Stephen, I don't know if you're still here, mate, or if you just popped in quickly, but I've got the giant Ralph mate still proudly in the collection, so I just wanted to show that off quickly while Stephen Brown is joining us. But yeah. Yeehaw came in like when we just started playing the interview, I believe. So he missed a little bit of the preamble. So without treading over old ground too much, he just wants to know how much planning went in and how did it come about.
Yeah, look, so obviously from October when I met him at the Supernova, I basically emailed every month to where I was directed, and just was very professional, very persistent. Sent some links because by November, December, we had done a few episodes of Mutagens. And then just out of the blue, got an email from his assistant saying, he's doing some media. This is the date, pick a time, and he'd love to have a chat to you. And I went over the questions. I got the boys involved because I hadn't told them, the boys, because I didn't want to kind of get their hopes up in case I couldn't get it. So I surprised them with, hey, I've got this interview tomorrow. We all met on the Friday night and had beers, and we all thrashed out some questions and some ideas that we all had, and as a collective came up with a few more questions which I didn't have a chance to ask. But I thought it was important that the boys had obviously input. That's basically how it came about. Yeah,
awesome. And yeah, to Phil's point, like he's talking about a film that's 34 years old. He's talking about things that came about 40 years ago, but very much talking like it was yesterday. So it's very clear that he's still got that passion. You know what I mean? This ain't just like a day job or something like that, or something he used to do. You know,
how old is he now? If it would be late
50s or
61.
61, I think. Yeah.
So thinking back then, but I loved.
He was in his late 20s, so probably there's a lot of partying going on, probably too.
Yeah.
I love that last little bit where he even did a little bit of history, and he's like, "Crikey."
Crikey! I'd love that.
Wasn't there an insight on a date that he put out too in that interview?
For Ronan. So I found out later that was a bit of an insight. So it was meant to be end of 2024, that it may get pushed back just because there's been a lot of flack in the gaming industry in the last year where a lot of games got released and there was just so buggy, from Cyberpunk to the Star Wars game, like so many games that just so they don't want to go down that path. So I think they'll push it back if they're not happy with it. But from what I'm understanding, he said that the game is quite true to the comics, quite dark, and has a lot of heart and soul. So going to be interesting.
Yeah,
I just love how he said he's going to have a phone call like next week. The insights, it's awesome.
Yeah, to hear that he's seeing gameplay and all that's exciting, because that game is quiet. Like it doesn't pop up on the radar of a lot of
no.
Like,
it's
this is what's coming out this year. YouTube videos.
I mean, it's a risky genre, right? Like the gaming industry is huge. It's bigger than Hollywood now. 100%. But the problem is you make a game that's turtle based, your funnel of gamers becomes smaller. Like if you were to make a Barbie game, that market is going to get smaller and smaller. And I think with the turtle game, it's smaller already. But then again, everybody loves turtle stuff. But being a darker turtle game based on Ronin, which is obviously very R-rated, your funnel becomes smaller again. So it'd be interesting to see what it does sales-wise. But because, the whole Ronin Japanese samurai, we had I don't know if you guys played modern gaming, but we had the Ghost of what was it called? Ghost of something on PS5 or PS4. That's it. Yeah. Ghost of Tsushima.
That's Tsushima. Really good.
It is. It's a fantastic game with probably one of the best games I've ever played. But it's got aspects of that as well. So, it is true to the art of ninja and all that. So I think it's going to do well. I think it'll do well.
The thing with promo on games too, they don't need to do it anymore. They sell. You know, like you said, that's bigger than Hollywood, the game industry, by millions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, basically, they'll just give it to a couple of YouTubers to play it before it comes out, and then all of a sudden it's sold for you.
Yeah, like a lot of betas and all that. They're pretty quiet these days. They're not
Just
promoted as much as they used to.
Just get it right.
Get it right before you release it. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's it.
I like a little bit of quirk.
But that was fantastic. I could watch that again, like right now.
Yeah.
I felt like at times I forgot that I was watching it live with everyone, and I thought I want to ask him this now. Like I just want to extend just what he said because I kept thinking of it. So very well done. Very well captured too.
Yeah, you won't expect his answers to be so long either. Like he just got in detail, you know.
I know.
It was interesting for his responses to reflect a lot of the things that we were saying that we were discussing, the points that we were raising in our live stream where we discussed the film in detail, talking about how important it was going to be that the turtles look right in live action form. You know, even though the notion of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is like fantastical in nature, they still have to look like they are grounded in reality, like the sets did, like New York City did. So it was funny, man. Like a lot of his responses were very much, it just goes to show how much he loves it, and it was just really cool to hear. You know?
It's definitely cool.
What we got any other questions in the chat?
No, man. People just showing love, just saying you did a great job, and absolutely. No, that was really cool. And like for you, Enzo, having done that, having had that chat with him, a different format, and you also having met him face to face previously, was he very much the same, or did you see a different side of him? Like, did he feel like the same bloke, or when he's at the cons, is he in like con mode, and you know what I mean? Like,
it's funny because I've been at a couple of events with other celebrities where, like for instance, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a classic where when you're lining up and you meet him, right, he's like, "Hello, nice to meet you," shakes your hand, and then his assistant's behind him squeezing his arm to tell him to move on to the next person, right? And it's, "Hello, how you going? Nice to meet you. Hello, how you going? Nice to meet you." And it's very robotic. And I see that with a lot of famous people. With him, it was, and the boys will be able to tell you, it was very like, "Hello, how you going?" And, everyone had a piece, and it was like, he will acknowledge that piece and talk about that piece. And you can say something quickly and he will acknowledge that. And every single person, because when we queued up, I don't know how it was for you guys, but we could probably, as soon as we came around the corner, there was about 15 people in front of us. I think I counted, or 12, I can't remember. But we could hear what he was saying to each person. And and we got to see him a lot longer as we got closer. It wasn't that you just walk into a room and all of a sudden he's there, right? So he liked the fact that people could walk past and wave to him. But everyone he spoke to was very different. And I got a very similar sense of what he gave me, that I felt like I was the only person in the room that day. Or even when I went on the Sunday and I took my daughter with me, he gave her a lot of attention too. And, because it's a different generation, she's 8 years old. Well, then she was 8 years old. And, he gave her love and attention. And then even though I was there yesterday, what he said to me was something completely different to the day before.
Oh, really?
But then interviewing him, I got that same feeling, but it was a lot deeper connection. Because I think what Scotty said was, as he acknowledged me with the first question, I felt that he actually valued me as a journalist, as a Ninja Turtle, passionate collector and fan, and and if it wasn't for people like us, that he wouldn't be where he is today. So he was very similar, but at the same time a little bit better, because it was very personal.
Obviously, too, because you've been brought up right, you greeted him well too, man. So that's probably another thing. People were just like, "Hi," you actually asked him how he's going.
Yeah,
it's more of a chat, like you said.
Right into it.
Friend.
I was trying not to make eye contact because I thought I'd get all like aroused and stuff.
All gushy,
all gushy. Don't make eye contact. Yeah.
I like what you decked out. What you decked out behind you and sort of used them as representations when you were talking about it.
Yeah. Well, because all my stuff is either is either half gone or in storage, and I didn't have anywhere to really do it. So I thought I'd quickly grab some stuff I had and was relevant to the conversation, like Ronan.
Yeah.
There was a few Easter eggs in that. If you go back to watch it, you'll see Ronan in the corner. There, you'll see the Ninja Turtle animation coins and the animation cells and the big NECA. Those big NECA turtles are one of my favorite pieces that I've ever had. I just wish that they would freaking stand better. But they're so. It literally looked like they've popped out of the film, right? They're just so movie accurate.
They're insane.
Yeah. So, look, I just wanted to kind of... I was going to wear my Ninja Turtle hoodie, you know, that real freaking intense one I've got. But then my wife was like, you might think it was too much. And then when he came on camera with that shirt, I was like, fuck, I missed an opportunity. Because we could have had a turtle hoodie off. But
the hoodie would have gone hard.
Yeah, I know, but I think it would have been like, I didn't want him to think, because I had his hat and I was going to wear it, and then I ended up putting it behind me.
I love that hat.
Because I didn't want him to think that Ninja Turtles had vomited all over me at the same time. That I'm trying to prove something, you know. So
you would have been sweating profusely as well in that hoodie.
Yeah, and look, my wife made a good point. She said, look, at the end of the day, you want to come across a little bit professional as well, as opposed to...
you certainly did, mate.
Yeah, those geeky nerds. So that was her tip of the day.
It was good.
G'day, Jeff. Yeah. Thanks for joining us,
Jeff.
mate.
Well, to say
you're
that,
doing well.
I think we could do an Woody episode in winter. All four of us.
I've got those hoodies. Got those hoodies.
Yeah, I run hot, so it needs to be winter and it's on.
Yeah.
July.
So look, it was great, and I think it really just gives and you know, capturing these things, especially because it ends up on YouTube, it becomes a time capsule piece, and I think it's important for, you know, another generation of people to see it. And I think, you know, he will keep doing this. He seems like a healthy guy. I'm sure he'll keep doing this till he's 80, and you know, there's just always more and more, and there's so much turtle stuff happening now in the future. So he would be talking to everyone for days. But it was such a pleasure, you know, for me talking to him. It was amazing sitting there, and I was kind of thinking about my experience watching the film in the cinema. And us, you know, if you had told, you know, that little boy, that 8-year-old boy, however old I was, that in, you know, 34 years' time, you'll be talking to the guy that created Ninja Turtles. You know, and funny enough, one of my friends has a YouTube channel on retro gaming, and his father in the 80s and 90s was a huge video camcorder guy, and he captured everything. Like, I'm talking every launch of title, every console launch, every Christmas, every game he captured. Like, he was like Big Brother in the 80s and 90s with his camcorder. So Tyler uses it as footage for his channel. And just the other day, he did one on Ninja Turtles, and he's finding the arcade for the first time at 4 years old and playing it and what it meant to him. And when I told him I had done this interview, he was like, man, like, as a 4-year-old kid, you know, because in 1990, he was 4 years old. You know, and even he went to Universal Studios, and they had the live turtles in the suits that would do the dancing and the singing. He's like, you know, if you had thought that in 30 years later, or, you know, 35 years later, that you're that invested, that you're still talking about it at 40 years old, and you got to interview him, you know, it's a thing that I'll never forget. That's for sure.
Yeah, it made me think, like, you made us, like us three guys, sort of part of it. That I felt like I was doing it as well, and I got to meet him last year as well when he came to Sydney, and I was saying to Sarah, it's like this guy created a universe. He created a world that's been around now for 40 plus years. It's like meeting like George Lucas. It's like meeting Gene Roddenberry. So like it's huge when you think about it. Like, it's not going away. These things will stay in pop culture forever. And like, I know it's only half of the creation behind it, but it's so crazy to think that all just happened. Yeah.
I mean, it really is crazy. And this is off topic, so I'll make a quick detour and we'll circle back. But it is really crazy to think about all of the like vast intellectual property universes that were all created in the 80s and early 90s but for the most part, really the 80s, because a lot, when you think about what was big in the 90s, for me it was Turtles and wrestling, and those things became what they were in the 80s and just carried through to the 90s. But you compare that, and I don't want to get too negative about like creativity and intellectual property development and stuff nowadays, but it's just so crazy that all these properties of just that really first exploded into mainstream popular culture in the 80s, we're all still celebrating them. Like you walk up like you got June and Ghostbusters in the cinema. Like you walk up the toy store aisles, you see Masters of the Universe Origins, or at least you should if they're being stocked correctly. I don't know about Australia because I don't collect a lot of the modern stuff, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like it's just incredible the franchises that were born in the 80s and 90s that are still lasting to this day. And I have to wonder sometimes like where the new ones are. You know what I mean?
Well,
I don't think the older ones have lasted the test of time, but yeah.
I genuinely think that back then everything was done with a lot more passion, heart, and soul, and it was more paper and it was more hands-on, and there was a lot of collaborating in a room and throwing ideas around, and it was like-minded people. Nowadays, the stuff that's made, like I don't see, a cartoon and see Bluey. Now, I don't know if you guys watch Bluey, or you probably do because you guys have got kids. Now, Bluey is very similar to what an 80s or 90s show was made and how it was made and why that will last the test of time, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think any of these cartoons that were made in the late 2010 onwards are going to survive. We're not going to be talking about them in 40 years' time because they're clinical. The animation is really tacky on some of them. I don't think that they capture. There you go. I don't think they capture the heart and soul and the experience that the 80s and 90s captured when it comes to cartoon and figures. I just think everything is too clinical now, and either the animation is generated quite quickly and quite emotionless. That the people behind it probably don't have a passion for that particular thing. Not all of them. I'm sure that some do. I'm sure that some will froth over working on Ninja Turtles, right? I guess the new cartoon, the new Mutant Mayhem is interesting because watching the speeches on the disc, everyone that worked on that film had a connection to the old series. They either had a story to tell, like we used to watch it, and we were, it was such an honor to be asked to work on this. That's probably a different case, and I think that's probably the key to the success of that film, because they made sure that everyone working on it worked on it because they wanted to work on it.
That's probably a big part of it, because
100%.
You have to think that when Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird came up with TMNT, look, from what I understand, there was some serendipity to it. They were just making one another laugh and just riffing on Daredevil and other comic influences that they'd had as artists. But you have to think that no part of them at that time was trying to create a multi-billion-dollar franchise. But they did it because they love it, and their creativity and their passion just happened to spawn that for whatever reason, for whatever, sliding doors, however you want to do it. And you probably have to think the same for a lot of the big franchises that have still lasted to the test of time. They weren't built by corporations. They were built by artists and creatives.
Yeah. 100%.
That's what I would think.
And it blew up so fast. I mean, nobody would have thought that it would have taken off as fast as it did. I mean, it was stupidly fast, and it'd probably be the fastest growing, intellectual property ever. Like it just went gangbusters. So Metal Doll stands top heavy. Yeah, true.
Their legs.
The big neckers.
Yeah. They I always tend to find one fallen over or one knocked over, or it was actually one of the interesting things. I think we spoke about it, was that I found out that Splinter was named after Stick, which is a Daredevil character.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Foot Clan were named up, were inspired. Yeah.
One thing I've seen too was obviously the first Turtle Eastman sketched and handed over to Laird as of just joking around. Little turtle with nunchucks. So the first turtle was Michelangelo. Thing. But
cool.
it's definitely cool that, like, from that, like, you would never think a turtle You know, like as we were kids, we always had the rabbit and the hare, like the race. You know, the turtle and the hare. But yeah, turtle taken over so big, and a ninja turtle, anything.
You know, the kind of, you think about like who would have thought that it would have been so successful. But if you think about it, right, just the title alone, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that is 4 words that will captivate any audience. Because you're like, anyone will go, what is this about, right? Because it's got ninjas. They're teenagers, they're turtles, and they're mutants. Like, and I think that's why it worked. I think that's why it was a juggernaut. Because as stupid as the idea was, and as stupid as it was, all created because he just passed a piece of paper over to him, and they looked at that name. If it was called anything else, I don't know if it would have been as successful.
Yeah.
So you're 100% right too. Like with the artwork and that they were doing back then, they made it into cartoon and movie form, all that. But there was so much passion in that artwork alone. Now with cartoons these days, a lot of the time they've got someone employed to have like the screen flash in front of kids' faces just to get them stuck into the TV sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they're not even looking into the whole storyline. And like with Bluey, we love it because it's kind of family orientated. You know, you actually see real life problems in that show. So like it lets you feel more human. And I think Turtles, like as much as it's crazy, it's a mutant ninja turtle, the actual world around it were humans. You know, they were just regular everyday people, you know, and a lot of the 90s cartoons still had that. You had your crazy ones that are a bit out there, but you know, like it's still it hit home.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right. That comment about the Ski Collect's comment about the hat, that character on Eastman's hat is the original sketch.
Yeah, original sketch.
Yeah.
So guys, just for Jeff and for anybody else that's tuned in late, so what we're talking about Kevin Eastman because Enz was, like I said earlier, fortunate and tenacious and lucky enough to be able to secure an opportunity to interview Kevin Eastman for about 12 minutes, 3-4 questions. We shared it earlier on in the stream. I know like a big part of live streams are watching live, and you know, I try to watch live streams wherever I can, and I don't watch a lot of replays of live streams because the magic of a live stream is being able to, you know, watch and chat live. But I would definitely recommend if anyone has tuned in late, like Jeff, just to at least go back and watch those 12 minutes of that interview because Enzo absolutely crushed it, and Kevin is an absolute champion. So it was really fun.
Geek strong, nice.
But Kevin actually wrote. Kevin only write Ninja Turtles, and then Large put the
he
right.
put the correct
which I thought just like, why would you think that? What were they smoking?
Well, that's the thing in the UK. Well, like I always found it interesting that in the UK and some other countries it was changed to Hero Turtles, not Ninja.
Well, that's VTR Dave is just bringing that up, which is pretty crazy to me. Like of all the,
I know,
like the fact that in the UK the sensitive words were ninja and were the nunchuck weapon, like not the bladed weapons, but more of a blunt force weapon. That was the one that you couldn't have. You know what I mean? That is puzzling to me. Like katanas, sweet. Nunchucks, no, not allowed.
And I wonder how popular it was numbers wise in the UK because the name was different.
Yeah.
Right.
So you see that one from Dino? He lives next door.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go.
And then his next one.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
So I wonder if the original Mirage Studios. I'm sure. I mean, like, I wonder if the building, what's that?
The building's still there. I was googling it. I was just going to bring it up because I actually looked at it. Where is it? I've got it saved in my bookmarks. There it is. Come on.
Oh, that's cool, Jeff. That's awesome.
Dover, New Hampshire, 1983. So apparently the building is still there.
Wow.
It's like
the
house in movie one's still, they use it for weddings and that.
Yep.
It's all been redone. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's Jeff. That's awesome that you had a really good experience with Kevin as well.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I want to really chat about now, if we can, in addition to, you know, answering any questions that anyone in the chat has, is you boys just telling us a little bit about how you guys went with Kevin Eastman at the last Supernova.
Yeah.
That's
Enzo, go
it.
first, Jono? Or
Well, look, I think, like I said before, my experience was very, very unique. I felt like even though there was 100 people behind me, because we got in there very early, and even though I did 2 days, it was a very personal experience. And he, you know, it was only at that point in time for those 3-4 minutes that only I existed. That, like, it wasn't like he was looking around paranoid, you know, that someone was taking photos, or, you know, that he was just in the moment enjoying it. And even though his signature is quite common now, a lot of these guys do it on purpose because they don't want their signature being kind of or fan people missing out, you know, because a lot of these guys, the pricing on some of these signatures will go through the roof. So the more you put out there, the cheaper it is. You know, it is quite cheap to get one of these things signed or to buy something he signed. But my experience was amazing. I mean, even my daughter was quite taken back at how cool he was and how, like, he spoke to her. You know, even though, like, you know, it was basically 2 people and it was only 1 person kind of thing. You know, he gave us both time, and the second day I went. So yeah, I would have. I mean, if that event was on for the whole week, I would have gone every day just to get to talk to him again and again and again. And some people joined twice. I joined twice the second day because I didn't realize that the posters that him and a couple of the local artists had done, you could get signed as well. So I went around again. And he actually remembered. He's like, "Oh, you're back." It's like, you know, this is like 300 people later. But I've got one of those faces, so I don't blame him. But, you know, like, it was such a genuine experience. And not one of those, you know, I'm doing it because I have to, or, you know, I'm sick of all these nerds and I'm sick of all these fanboys, because you don't get that from people like, you know, and you can watch interviews with George Lucas and all those guys. They're over it. They've been over it for 30 years. You know, they get asked the same questions, and some of their responses are snappy and short. My experience was second to none. I'd have to say it'd be one of the best people to meet, grounded people to meet. So highly recommend it if anyone has an opportunity.
What did you get signed? Do you have anything?
I had my Ronin book signed, which he did a little sketch inside, which is cool. He signed my Raphael Monsters carded mummy. And a comic book.
Yeah, nice. And I know he does.
You were meant to pay for signatures, which I paid for one, and then the other stuff I had, he actually said, "Would you like me to sign that?"
Oh,
nice.
How cool.
You know,
So
and he kind of stopped because there was a guy there giving him the money, saying, "This is what you need to sign and do." And the guy, he said, "Oh, it's only one." He goes, "Oh, that's okay." I don't know if that's because he knew that I'd been back already once before. But he wasn't, as much as he's there to make money and get paid, obviously, you know, there was a lot of times he didn't do it just with me, he did it with other people where he bent the rules a little bit or spent some time, took some photo. You're allowed to take photos of him doing or signing or video. He didn't care.
I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that beforehand.
What, taking photos and videos?
I told you.
Because I even saw like.
No, we got evidence of him doing it, and even Ryan got evidence of him signing his, and because I think that was important. But, you know, again, that same day around the corner, they were doing meet and greets, and there was what's her face from Charmed, Elisa Milano. You couldn't take photos, you couldn't take video. They escorted you away. Like, mate, you're a B-grade actor. No one cares about you anymore. If anything, you should let people take photos and videos of you to make you relevant again, right?
I think he was after us. I think it was. I think it was Sydney. Then he went to Perth.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I saw Ryan, the collector kid, have a photo and a video of his van getting signed. I was like, damn, I didn't know I could do that. But
you just assume that maybe it's rude to ask or it's pushing the boundaries, right? But I think, you know, like with Elisa Milano going, no one's allowed to take, she doesn't want pictures and videos taken. Yeah, good. I'm glad it's harsh words. Hopefully she sees this and she realizes that she's nothing anymore. So, you know, it's like,
shots
yeah,
fired.
and my daughter just reminded me because she's texted me, or my wife texted me, he signed the movie poster I had in the background. Right, nice. I got him to sign that because obviously it was my favorite film. So he signed that along with Ronan and the comic book and so I had like 4 pieces signed.
Yeah, very cool. Did you do a photo? Yeah, that was in the back.
Yes, we had the photo. It was there. I had 2 photos. I went myself the day before, but I had like no hair, and I had this. I just looked a bit weird and puffy. And then when I went with my daughter, I had another photo, and it came out much better. So I was happy about that.
Oh, very cool. Well, ours, like Dan and I, we went together with our families to the Sydney Supernova to meet him. And a lot like you said, we stood in line. He was right across from us. And the first segment we were standing there, we must have stood there for about an hour, I reckon, as it went through. Because we
ran from the beginning.
Yeah, he does spend a lot of time having a chat with everyone and signing all the things. So by the time it was lucky me, right at the start of the line, ready to go across, and they said, "No, we're cutting off now," and I was like so disappointed. But they gave me a little number, and they said, "Come back," and they gave everyone a number, and they said, "Come back, and we'll slot you all in order." So come back in a couple of hours. So thank God.
That's funny you should say that, because I actually remember commenting, because we got there about 10 and watched the queue, and then we went for a walk, came back, and we could still see him the whole time.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to take him in all day, basically. I didn't want to leave for half a day and come back. He didn't stop. He had a break at lunchtime for half an hour, and then he came back. I was like, good on him. I mean, your hands must be screwed from all the signing and stuff.
So he left that to go do his photo op. So when that happened,
well, that's probably what it was as well then, yeah.
He was out with he sort of had a bigger table than all the other sort of comic artists, but he was out on the sort of main floor. So he wasn't with all the TV actors and Melissa Milano, your favorite, but he was just over with all the comic actors. So that was where it gave you.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike. That was where it gave you more.
Missed the interview with Kevin Eastman, buddy.
Live.
Yeah, live. Yeah.
But I'll actually. You got my photo, Scotty. So I'll share my photo. For some reason, I didn't keep my hat on, and now everyone's going to see what I look like without a hat.
You can Photoshop that though, Dean.
Well, I should have.
I could give you some Jerry curls.
I don't know what. Have you taken that off your screen?
No, she's still there. I'll go again.
It does time out.
Once I got that,
must have timed out.
Once I got that token, I ran over to. Hold on, where did it go?
At least on the photo, no, thank you.
There it is. Sorry, little amateur hour now.
Assets.
There we go.
I couldn't believe it.
You got that, Scotty?
Yeah.
So there we go. That's my photo. So I ran over to the line, and I don't like anyone that's ever done a photo op. It's quite a quick interaction, so you get a lot more time with him when you go and chat at their table.
You do.
But what I took with me, and I hope everyone can see what's in Kevin's hand.
Oh yeah,
Fuji. Little Fugitoid. So if anyone doesn't know, Fugitoid was what he created before Turtles. It was one of his characters that he created for a little comic series, and then he actually started putting Fugitoid into the Turtles cartoon. So I thought that was cool, and I came in and I said, "Hey mate, how you going?" Shook his hand. I said, "Can you hold that?" And he's like, "Oh, Fugitoid." And he was like, "I love Fugitoid," and he just turned it around, took a little photo. So my collection's got a complete Fugitoid in there, and it's also got a Kevin Eastman held Fugitoid. So I love that little piece. So
and he's touched it. I hope you never wash it.
Yeah, exactly. He's touched it. It just makes it all so much better. I probably should have got.
Wouldn't even let me touch it afterwards.
No,
went straight in the baggie.
Yeah, straight in like a police evidence bag. Just
Yeah. So you would like breathe in this bag.
That's a good question from Phil.
Raph.
Is it?
Yeah, it is Raph.
Yeah, it's Raph. Yeah, that's why I took Raph to get signed, because I was like, it's his favorite.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did my photo, and then we went back into line, and you can drop that one now, Scotty, if you like.
Yep.
So I didn't know what to get signed. I spent weeks trying to figure out what do I get signed. Like,
please tell me you got your boob signed.
Comics, I did that. Comics, Turtles, and I'm like, oh, well, which one do you pick? So in the end, I picked my number one comic, and this comic is from my childhood. So I got the Turtles Adventure comic.
Nice.
All right, so I took my number one. It's from my childhood. I had a whole bunch of these that I still have, and he's done his turtle. So that's his classic vintage.
Later, Nate.
See you, Nate. That's his
Thanks for
classic
tuning in,
vintage turtle little drawing that he does. So he'll do that on everything that's this sort of generation of turtles. And if you did a Last Ronin comic, he does this really cool new one for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Got his auto. Sorry, I'm giving everyone the finger. Got his autograph to me. So that was my comic that I got done. Happy with
That's
my
awesome.
photo. Yeah, I wish I did more like Enzo, but sometimes you got to weigh up the dollar amount to it. But my interaction with him, it was short and sweet. It was just thanking him for coming all this way to Australia and hanging out with us, taking the time, and yeah, it was.
He'll be back next year.
It was a much better experience than you get with some of the TV and film actors, because you get a little bit more time. It's a little bit more open and lovely. So yeah, that's my interaction. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, so obviously mine's gonna be very similar because same people, you know. So obviously I've never been to a supernova, never really been interested in getting signatures or anything like that. I'm only new at collecting, started a couple of years ago, and it was gone on 2 years now. But big turtle fan over the years and that. But anyway, so when Dean goes, oh, you can get this signature done by Kevin Eastman, and I've seen Dean's got so many autographs of different people and that. But so I was like, what do I get signed? And I literally own 0 comic books. I got the Last Ronin, but then I thought, he's going to be signing so many of them, you know. Yeah. And so then I'm like, do I get a figure done? Now, I'm a sucker for if I buy a figure and it's got like a little bit of word written on the leg or something like underneath the foot, like a name, I kind of get a bit pissed off. So, I just couldn't pick a figure that I'd get signed because I didn't want it I thought it'd get ruined. So, still itching at it, didn't know what I was going to get signed. I'm like, don't worry, we'll get a photo then. I won't get the signature. And then my wife said to me, why don't we get something signed for your daughter? For my daughter and her daughter, obviously, too. So we got the Ninja Turtles watch signed, and I got it signed in her name.
Oh, that's too, really cool. Hang on. Let me make you big.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's me.
So, yeah, we got it. What happened was Monique went into like a little TMNT raffle and she won this with Indy's birth number. So we've always said it's hers. So I got it signed in her name. Like I said, I'm not huge on signatures, so it's not really. It was more of a keepsake for her. The cool thing about getting this signed, obviously, he'd never seen one, especially because this is one that actually has weapons too. So you can put weapons in the hands of the turtle, which I have never been able to find another one either because I was thinking about trying to get the whole set. But
it's a watch. Why does it? It makes no sense why it comes to weapons.
It makes no sense. And what makes no sense is you got every option of weapon too. You've got nunchucks, you got the bow, you've got the.
Okay, so
it's definitely a cool piece.
I suppose the thinking there is it's the same sprue that gets packed in with the watch regardless of whatever character it is. Yeah. But does the character on the front of the watch actually have gripping hands?
Yeah, so he has grips on his hands. Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
I've never seen it before.
And the funny thing is, I didn't even know about the weapons. We got this home and we just put it on the shelf. We didn't worry about it too much. We didn't look at it too much until we were ready to get it signed. And we're like, holy shit, it's got weapons on the back too, you know? So that was a cool talking point, especially when as Dean said, we're in a massive line. Like there was Kevin Eastman's line wasn't small, but we got there very early. And as Dean's not really explaining, sorry, I gave you my spot, Dean, if you remember. Because
it was a secret.
You had to go get some. I'm telling people how kind of a bloke I am. But so obviously when we got to the end of the line, we got these tickets. I'm like, you ought to be kidding me. We've stood here for an hour and a half and now we've got to go walk around. Luckily enough, it was organized so well that when they told us to come back on time, we were straight in line, straight to get our signature. Walk over to him. I didn't exactly know what to say. Like, I've heard of him buying a tank and stuff like that when he got his first massive paycheck. And I thought, nah, I don't really want to talk about money with him. But I seen a picture on his Instagram of if people in chat know, the Foot Cruiser. Back in the day, they made up a lot. Like, they got a Cadillac, actual life-size car, and made it into a Foot Cruiser for some sort of Motorama show. So, because I've seen it on his Instagram, and I looked everywhere else. I was doing research trying to find it, could not find anything about this car. So that was the question I went over and asked him. Like, I gave him the thing to sign, said, "Can you sign my daughter's name?" He got to say hello to her. And then I go, "By the way, have you ever seen this car again?" And he's like, "Man, I've been looking for that for years. I haven't seen it either. You know, there's no info out there about it." So it was kind of cool to have that interaction that he's also looked for it too, because it was obviously up on his Instagram. He's seen it recently. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see that. And just a little chat. And I did actually ask him, I go, "Can I take a photo while I'm getting the signature?" So I got that done, and he was like, "Yeah, no problem whatsoever." So I wish I probably tried to give him my daughter and see if I could get a photo too, but I just thought it'd be pushing the boundaries a bit. But yeah, absolute gentleman of a bloke to talk to. And what also was cool is being in line with a lot of these people, because I've never been to these conventions before. They're seeing each people with different items, and they're like, "Oh, what's that? Can I have a look?" And you were having like conversations with random people you've never talked to before, just on obviously the watch or whatever you had there, you know. Like, I think Dean had his few to like out at one stage, and someone goes, "Oh, I can, like, they wanted to see that," you know. So it's cool to get to meet people and see the different avenues of what they were bringing to the show to get signed. Some people had pop vinyls, some people had figures, some people had books.
That was that Dan, was it?
Pardon?
Sorry,
that would have been Dean getting
Dean got a couple signed, but he's not going to show them, obviously. But yeah, no, like, I really wish I had a comic book, because I felt like I wanted him to sign something that he really put his 100% into. Like, I'm not saying he didn't, but there was certain aspects, the movie, the cartoon, all that. It's a big conglomerate of people were working on those things. But those comics were like, but I didn't have any. And I'm hopeless at reading comics. So
do you have... Sorry, mate. I was just asking, do you have the pic handy of him signing the watch?
I will put it up on my Instagram. Actually, it is on my Instagram, actually.
Oh, is it? Okay, sweet.
Yeah, there'll be a picture of me and my daughter with the watch, and then I think if you slide, you'll find it.
There's a link to everybody's Instagram in the in the description, and there's a link to Dino's YouTube as well.
I've got a kid, man. If I had to scroll on my phone and find that photo, it'd take days.
Take you forever.
Boys,
I have to run. I did let you guys know I've got to go to a meeting. I've got another Zoom meeting in the UK. It was a pleasure. It was an honor. I love doing this. I'm a very busy person. I know I let you guys down sometimes, but
I've
got to head off, and I really enjoyed it. And it was such an experience. I know.
Enzo.
If it wasn't internet issues, power issues, work issues, it's just always something with me. But anyway, it was a pleasure. I'll leave you guys to finish off. I've got to prep for this other meeting. So I will finish you guys again. And thank you for all the love in the chat. It means the world. You're all legends. And a big shout out to Matt, obviously, and Andrew from Keep On Collecting with their 1,000 views. Good luck, Scott, with your hairstyle on Friday. Friday, is it?
Friday, yep.
Friday. And if you haven't donated, don't be a flog. I'm sure there's a link down there. Donate.
There is a link in the description to my world's greatest shave, but hey, you know,
good cause.
You don't have to.
No, but come on, it's worth a good cause, because that's a lot of hard work to grow that hair for so long and then cut it off.
As a matter of fact, it's my last stream before this comes off. So
get it out.
You don't have to apologize for anything, mate. You go do what you got to do, and we've appreciated having you on. And we look forward to
in the words of L'Oreal, you're worth it.
Yeah,
look at it.
How about that?
All right, thanks, boys.
Take care, Enzo.
See you later.
I just wanted to say, because I didn't actually show this guy.
You're touching it. What are you doing?
I'm allowed to touch it. It's mine. For anyone that doesn't know, that is Fugitoid. But also, I saw someone said in the comments that his name is Honeycut. So
is that right?
Yeah.
Dean, open up his chest.
I did see Johnny's comment about Honeycutt, but I honestly didn't understand yeah, here we go. Honeycutt represent. I didn't understand that reference, so thank you.
Yeah, that's all right.
I so want someone in chat to walk over their figure tonight and figure that out. That opens up.
Like I didn't know that opened until I watched Ed's Retro Geek Out, and he's that, and I ran to my toy room, and I'm like, no way. And I'm like, Ollie, whoa, and that was years after I had one of these. So that's my little one. He's got a little K on his foot.
So that's the one that Kevin handled.
So that's the one that he had in his hand in the photo.
Now, are you still doing the shadow box deal with the comic and everything?
Yeah. So my idea is I've got one of those like acrylic cases. I'm going to do a bit of a pattern in the background. Have the comic there, have the little Fugitoid inside, and then probably a small picture of our photo. So it just encapsulates that whole experience in one little plastic sealed prism, which would be great. Yeah, it'd be a cool display piece once I get around to doing it.
Definitely.
But you didn't do a photo, did you, Dan?
No. Like I said, I was new to it, so I was kind of like, I was looking at a lot of things. Like I was thinking about Alyssa Milano too, but there'd only be one reason I'd want to get a photo with her. So it was kind of, yeah.
I'm putting my photo up this week of her just tagging Enzo in it.
But,
sorry, man.
Yeah, no, it was a bit weird. Like I haven't really fallen for getting the photos and that. The signature was just like a must, I thought, because I went so hard on Turtles. I thought, got to get signature. And you don't know if they're going to come back. You just don't know, I suppose.
No, look, you got to take advantage of the opportunities. As I say that, and I didn't go along. But similar to what Dan said, I've never really been a huge like meet and greet, photo op, and autograph kind of guy. It's just, it's never been one of those things for me. Maybe as a kid with wrestlers and stuff, but just watching that interview, seeing what kind of bloke he is, and chatting with you guys and the experiences that you had, I think I would next time. But the other thing that I was struggling with a bit was I couldn't think of anything to get signed anyway. You know what I mean? Similar to what Dan was saying. Like it'd be sick to have. I mean, I've got like an original Daybill movie poster of the second film, but if I'd want the first film poster signed by him.
I thought about my VHS cover. It wasn't in great condition, and then I think Dan said it like a comic. He wishes he had got a comic signed. I went with a comic because that's where it started. Not that comic, but that's where it started. Comic. I will get to Matt and Andrew's question. Where is Lard?
Yeah, so Johnny partially kind of answers it, but do you know if do you guys notice, does Peter Laird still do the Comic-Con circuit or no?
From he doesn't locally, I think. Like he'll do a bit more.
I think it's health issues or something like that. Because he's a lot older than Kevin. And,
is he really?
Yeah, he's. I'm gonna just Google his age, but he's definitely a good chunk older.
Okay.
Because they were they weren't like mates. They got introduced in, I think, a university or something. It was a bit of a weird introduction.
He's already 70.
Yeah, so he's 9 years on him.
Yeah, and Kevin Eastman is.
But he's I think Kevin was a more looser fella. Like when you read into things and that, it seems like he was the one that was like, yeah, let's do that, like sort of thing. Where Lard was a bit, no, I want it done the way we did it originally,
Gotcha.
I could be wrong.
Jeff Holt's just curious about how you can be hopeless at reading comics.
So I get my wife to read them to me.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's not that I can't read. I can totally read. I just don't know what bubble to read.
You don't know the order in which to read this animation cells.
With certain comics, like certain ones I'm all right with, but then I think I just get stuck in the pictures. I think
the pictures confuse him.
Yeah, I think I'm used to picture books, and like I said, my reading it goes down to like Goosebumps was probably the longest thing I ever read.
Wow.
But yeah,
Well, you
I
just
don't-
read them. You just read them normally, like left to right, top to bottom. That's all you do. But that's all right. I just wanted to say, just going back to the autographs and that Dan hit on that, I have done a few. So someone else in the turtle world that I got to meet was actually, I can't remember his name now, but the voice actor for Raphael from the original cartoon series. So I got to meet him back in Adelaide years ago, probably 10 years now, and he actually came back and did the voice of Donatello in the 2012 animated series. So there's a cool episode in that where the turtles go through a dimensional portal and end up interacting with their 90s counterpart. And you had Raph and Donatello going, "Why do you sound so weird?" And he's like, "Why do you sound so weird?" Because they both sound exactly the same. It was hard to watch that for a little bit, to get used to that, because I hear the voice and it's Raphael.
Yeah.
A whole new generation now hears the voice and it's Donatello. Until that happens, I love that they were taking little shots at each other of that.
I've been smashing a lot of animation lately, and like the old vintage one, and there's so many scenes where they put the wrong voice on the wrong turtle and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I got these VHS tapes, and they're Australian VHS tapes. They have this big intro on the front with the turtles animated, and they're all talking about, "Thanks for buying this VHS tape cassette to play in your home theater." And half the time, it doesn't even sound like the turtles. I'm like, "What the hell is Splinter?" Sounds like nothing. It's like not even Splinter, not even close. So, yeah, I think they were very loose when it came to just get it on, get it out.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of, because I'm working on a TMNT video at the moment to try to get it out before this Sunday, and I've been like running through some of the old toy commercials. The voices in the toy commercials are wild. Like it's just like they just got some random, advertisement voice actor. You know what I mean? It's they're all over the place.
And the prototypes they use in the toy commercials.
Fully. Yeah, 100%. I was watching a commercial for the Talking Turtles, and in the commercial for the Talking Turtles, they have like color-coded belts, like the storage shells. So a lot of the toys they used in the commercials are just completely not what the production, the final production toys were.
The party wagon had missing windows, and it was,
Did I hear Turtles video from Scott before Sunday?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, that's I'm trying to. So, I mean, I've filmed it all, and I've just got to add in some B-roll and some commercials and some music, and hopefully,
if
get
not,
it out
a nice long weekend turtle video would be nice too.
Well, when's Penrith playing this weekend?
Yeah, it'll be that time.
Yeah,
because Easter's next weekend, isn't it?
Is Easter next weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, no, because I just I'm going to be busy editing Collecticon footage, so I don't want to come home from Collecticon and have another project that I've not finished. So that's my goal, but we'll see how we go. I never put too much emphasis on it. We'll see how we go.
Hopefully.
What's that?
Me too. Collecticon video.
Awesome.
Sean,
Sean's saying, how good would a TMNT convention be? Yeah, like like an event that's like a combination of like Toy Fair with a focus on TMNT. Like, in the States they have like Joe Fest. They have Zazel and a bunch of the guys that have been in the chat have been before, and it's just a G.I. Joe focused event with like stalls and other stuff. That'd be sick for Turtles.
That'd be great because you can have previous casts and all that. I think there is or has been something that I've seen. I'm pretty sure there's one happening. I saw a poster that had all the actors and that from it, but I can't remember.
Massive timeline you could do too with Turtles.
I don't think it would. Sure. It wouldn't.
And screen the movies and everything. It'd be sick.
Oh.
I don't think it's something we could organise, but guys.
No, that might be a little bit above our pay grade, but I love the idea. That's for sure.
I don't know how we beat this episode now. It's like
no, I know
the fans are expecting more.
No, it was good. Jeff's saying the original Future Toy comic was like the early TMNT oversized. So Fugitoid as a character existed prior to the Turtles, and they just kind of introduced him into that world.
Yeah. So Fugitoid comes from space, like a futuristic sort of thing. So yeah, it was. From my memory, it was a short released comic series that Kevin had worked on before, and then they just brought him in as a different character. Because I think he was, I think he was in the same sort of realm as the Triceratons, where they came from.
Gotcha. Okay. Have you seen the Turtle Yogurt video from 1990? I definitely haven't seen that, but I've seen some bizarre commercials. There's a Turtles Honda commercial, which I stumbled across trying to find some of the old toy commercials, which is a blast. So, yeah, they've had Turtles endorse pretty much everything in commercial form.
I've never watched that one where
Winfrey interview with the Rock and Roll Turtles.
Oh, that was bad.
Yeah.
I haven't yet got around to sitting down to watch that. I think they did it, the Turtles with, I think it was just Michelangelo with the Hanna-Barbera characters, and they all got together to talk about like don't do drugs and things like that.
Yeah, I want to watch that.
I heard it pretty bad when you watch it, like the stuff they talk about. There was also another thing where the Turtles got onto like donate meat or something. It was like donate meat, eat veg, and it was like a little book, which was panned by all the meat corporations, saying this is going to push everyone away from meat. We need to sell meat. But yeah, it was the 90s. Do what you want. Go nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
The 90s, man.
Yeah, Jeff Holt suggesting don't get original posters signed unless it's signed by everybody in the film. Jeff, I love me some Ray Harryhausen, so I'd be curious to know which poster you've got signed. But yeah, I agree. Like a movie poster signed by just one actor is probably not ideal. Like maybe if you just have one signature to have the person that directed the film, or in the case of Kevin Eastman's pretty cool because he's one of the creators of the whole thing. But yeah, in an ideal world, you'd want to have all the the key names on there for sure.
You have to get one of the modern ones signed. Because I think he produced the 2014 movie. Yeah. Or he co-produced.
I've actually only done that once with signatures on a poster. I did it for the Stargate series when it had all the characters on the poster. So I got them to sign next to each of their characters. I'm missing one. I have one left. I'm always one away.
He hasn't died?
No, it was one of the female actors, Claudia Black. So... I just need to get her, and that's a nice framed piece of memorabilia there.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
It is.
Alrighty. Well, I reckon we've hit the hour and a half mark, so or just about. So we probably start to wind things up. Is there anything you guys wanted to discuss or cover off before we wrap up, or any pickups you wanted to share, or anything like that?
So who's having their first CollectorCon this week? Anyone?
Yeah.
Anyone in chat going to CollectorCon for the first time?
I think Street Collects is going to pop down for his first CollectorCon and hang out with us. So that'll be fun. And just along with Matt and Andrew, of course, Dan, Monique, you, Scotty, my family. So we all get together. I can't wait for it. It's been too long. We haven't done one since November. And, yeah,
it's going to be the first CollectorCon for my bald dome, which will be interesting.
Oh, yes.
If it's an awful look for me, do you guys promise that you'll still be my friend?
We might have a distance between.
Yeah,
why we walk your ass.
Because it might be horrible. Like I think I've got a head that just doesn't work without some foliage. So we'll see.
Why there's a bunch of people still left? I just want to thank everyone that's like watched my videos and commented. Just starting my YouTube, everyone's been so supportive. So it's been such a fun start. So yeah, hopefully much more to come. It is, like Scott said once before, it gets easier. It is getting easier. So
yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does.
Yeah.
Look, we you know, as far as like making YouTube videos and doing live streams, we all start somewhere, and Dean and Sarah off to a cracking start with their YouTube channel. So once again, there is a link in the description of this live stream to Totally Taylor Retro Hunters on YouTube. Go check those guys out and give them a sub if you haven't already. And yeah, a link to the boys' Instagrams as well, so you can check out Dan and Enzo on Insta as well. And yeah, I think that just about does it for today. Like I said, hoping to hammer out another video before Collecticon this weekend. Maybe a short when I'm getting my head shaved on Friday. But either way, I'm just looking forward to getting on the hunt this Sunday and getting the first proper like toy hunting video of the year done. So that'll be fun to work on. Deana, you got anything else coming on your channel prior to your first Collecticon video, or?
I'm working on a video game video, so I won't tell which console yet, but I'm working on that. If it comes out before Collecticon, I don't think it will. Sorry, guys. But like you, I'm actually working on a Turtles focused video, so items that I've picked up this year, TMNT related, and then I've just got 1,000 things in my head I want to do, like literally 1,000 things. So yeah. Yeah, creative juices are going. Time to get it all done.
Yep, it's always the way, mate. But no, you're doing good. Not whatever comes out next on your channel, whether it's a video game one, or whether it's the Turtles one, or whether it's the Collecticon toy hunt. Your first toy hunting video. I'll be eagerly watching them all. So yeah, look forward to it.
Appreciate the support, guys. I think we got someone just jumped in as we were leaving. Jonathan Proctor.
Oh, g'day, Jonathan. Hope you're doing well, mate.
We're just wrapping up.
We're just wrapping up, but definitely worth a replay. Particularly, the interview segment with Kevin Eastman. So check it out, and I hope you enjoy that. And Dino, thank you very much for the sub to Dean and Sarah. That's awesome.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you,
Johnny. Everybody else, good night. Stephen, thank you. Phil, thank you. Guys, just. Yeah, Jules, thanks so much.
So see you Sunday, Jules.
Mo Tuesday tomorrow night, I believe. Is it?
I don't know. I think
we
so.
Got one scheduled.
I thought I saw it. I hope so, because I was looking forward to it.
I know Zazel's got some coming up.
Here we go. Yep. It's been confirmed.
Yeah.
Mo Tuesday tomorrow. Look forward to that.
They've probably got the new
13
Turtles.
hours.
That crossover. Right. We should have MUTAGENTS Mo Tuesday full live stream, because they've got the Turtles of Grayskull now, so we can just have a big battle.
So is it going to be more of a debate? Which one's better? Or
can you imagine the artwork? Like, have all us like against them.
They got a lot more bigger characters. They're juiced, man.
Yeah, they are. So we got Ooze. We got Ooze, man.
Yeah, we got big bugs too.
See ya, Carl. We'll miss
you, buddy. It, Carl. Thanks for watching.
Have a good weekend, Carl.
Guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody in the chat. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you next time for the April episode. And no doubt you'll see us in other videos and streams before then. So, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. It makes all the difference with you guys joining in the fun. It's been an absolute blast. So we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Catch you later.
Cheers.
See you.